Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and social distancing as much as you possibly can, and taking time out for walks and movies and reading books. I know books are old-fashioned, but they can be helpful to you. I want you to do this work for this class. I want you to finish it well, but I also want you to be in good health while doing so. I'm here today to talk to you about analyzing evidence, which is something that in this class we actually haven't talked about as much as we normally might have, because we've done so much into collecting evidence and thinking about how to encourage people to offer their stories and how to deal with their stories. But analyzing evidence is absolutely crucial to how historians ply their trade. It's important to how we think about the world, and it's a way to do it. I do not want to suggest that this will cover everything, but I do have a technique that I would like to recommend to you. And it's a way to think about writing, let's say, squeezing as much information and thought out of your evidence as you can while still being true to what historians need to happen. So here's the setup. There's 4 parts to it, and I'll give an example of how to do it. First, make an observation or a point. That's what we would call your hypothesis, excuse me, or your argument. So you say something interesting, and now you've said it. Second, I know that you have been taught within an inch of your lives to paraphrase. Paraphrasing is an important and useful skill. But the thing about historians is that we don't believe what you've just said if you don't offer evidence for it. So first you make a hypothesis or an interesting point, and then second, and this is super important, you give me a quotation that demonstrates it. If you're not analyzing text, but instead are analyzing data, then give me a statistic that demonstrates it. But in these oral histories, you're going to be analyzing text. So tell us something about the text, and then give me a quotation from it, not usually a huge one, rarely more than a sentence, that demonstrates that what you just said is true. Okay, that's step 2. So 1, make an argument. 2, give evidence. 3, now you've got a quotation hanging out there. It's on the page. You just quoted it. Yay! 3, this is your chance to analyze that quotation, to say what is in it, what's going on, what it makes you think. I love the crutch of this suggests da 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 da. So you've made an argument or made a point or an observation. Now you've quoted evidence to show that what you just said is probably true, and now you analyze it. Okay, that's step 3. You say what it means, probably what it tells you about society. And then step 4, you move forward from that analysis into another, maybe wider, maybe larger, maybe related or different point about your topic. So now you take what you said and push it into a new area. And you'll be shocked to realize that that's a circle, right? Point 1 is make an observation, and point 4, all the way at the end of the process, is essentially make another observation. And what are you going to have to do with that observation? You're going to have to see if you can find evidence to demonstrate it or find evidence to test it. Okay, so example. This is a very deep, philosophical, important example. Okay. First, you make an observation. All right, I wrote this down. Joe's anger at not being taken seriously in his love for ice cream suggests that by the early 21st century, ice cream had fallen in the ranks of mass-produced sweet treats in favor of cronuts. Okay, that's my observation, right? Now, I've already read the evidence, I've already thought about it, and I'm bringing this to you, the reader, as thing 1, okay? So my observation is about Joe feeling like he's not being taken seriously as an ice cream eater, and then stretching that out and saying maybe that tells us something about ice cream in the 21st century. Okay. Step 2, you offer evidence. So here's Joe. What's up with all these jerks who prefer cronuts to ice cream? Joe asked. They've made my life a living hell. Okay, so I just said that Joe was angry about not being taken seriously, and then I suggested that ice cream had fallen in the ranks of mass-produced sweet treats in favor of cronuts. Joe's quotation essentially demonstrates that, right? He's angry, he's mad, and he observes, using his senses of observation that that he is no longer in the in-group. So Cronuts seem to have taken over. Okay, so there's point one. So there's observation, there's evidence to demonstrate that observation, and now analysis. Okay. Joe's sense of social isolation suggests that the dairy wars of the early 2020s had rendered ice cream lovers a dangerous, even radical fringe group in American society. Okay, so I just told you the thing about Joe. I offered a quotation from Joe to demonstrate it, and now you can see that in my analysis, I'm kind of pushing past it a little bit. I'm taking what Joe said and I'm adding in more ideas that I know about. I'm bringing in logic, and I'm thinking, what could this mean? What could this tell us about society? Okay, and now step 4, I'm going to try and make a larger point about the topic. I'm going to try and move on to another interesting thing. So I say this might account for the way that the creamers, as they came to be known in subsequent years, joined forces with the unsweetened but simpatico milkers in the second dairy war of the 2020s. Okay. Isn't it fun to have a professor who thinks he's funny? You get the idea, though. Thing one, you make an observation. Thing 2, you offer a quotation or maybe a statistic or something that someone else can analyze to demonstrate that that observation is true. Thing 3, you analyze that quotation, right? So you quote Joe talking about those blasted cronuts, and then you bring it into the realm of analysis, where you put your stamp on what Joe said, and you say, here's what this means. And then thing 4, you take your analysis and you push it further. You say, that's not all this means. There's something else going on, or maybe this connects to something else that we've talked about. Okay. Does this make sense? The idea here is that your evidence is crucial, but it's not everything. What you need is you putting your stamp on the evidence, saying, here's what this evidence means. On the other hand, your reading of the evidence, without showing the reader what you're doing, also isn't useful. The evidence is kind of the hinge on which everything turns. So you've got your idea, and then you have to demonstrate that your idea has some basis in fact or objective reality. There's your evidence. And then, most excitingly for me, you start analyzing that evidence. You start saying, here's what this means. Here's what we get out of this. Okay. That's what I got. Take care, truly. Let me know if I can help.